got the whiteboard sandwiched between my frame, so I'm good there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an easel. Okay, here's one over here that I've already made that I use quite a bit for Bible class. So I'm making an easel. So here's this one that we've done. I'm going to do the same thing, but what I've got to do is I've got to rip my legs for my easel. So I've got my saw, my table saw set up, 1 3/4 inches. Now I gotta have a push bar so that I can push the wood through the table saw at the end. I've already got my measurements, 1 3/4 inches is what my legs are going to be. Take my board. I'm just using some treated lumber for this. This is 3/4 by 5.5. But anyway, I did that because I want a little bit thicker one for my legs. I'm gonna. Okay, there's my first leg, 1 3/4 inch board. Lay it over here. Take the rest of my board and I'm gonna rip it. Now this board here, it has a little bit of a split in it just from being weathered. I'm going to keep and use this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as the bottom half, but I'm going to put me a couple of screws in here just as drillers to hold it. A lot of people will put wood glue in it. I ain't got time to mess with wood glue. A couple 1 1/4 inch screws with a driller head on it, and that will keep it from splitting out, but it'll also hold it. Now, got that one all tightened up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 2 side legs and I'm going to freehand them. I'm going to show you what I mean by freehand them. See how they have an angle cut? I'm just going to trim off a corner real steep, and that way I can put a bolt through there and tighten it down, but I'll have a leg in the middle and a leg on each side. All I'm going to do is I'm going to run them through the table saw at an angle. You'll see as we do this, 2 wide ones. Actually, this wide one is going to be my back leg. These 2 that I cut, they're going to be my side legs. I've got to trim it from like this point here down like that. And I'm going to come down about 4 inches. That's pretty close. Come down about 4 inches, and I'm just going to freehand it through the table saw. Whittled that down. Guys, when you have a little piece of wood stay in there like that, hurry and turn your saw off, because that saw will grab that and throw it. So if you can see here, I've got this one whittled down as well. So now these 2 can go together and form the outside legs of my triangle. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put these 3 together. I'm going to bring you over here. I'm going to go get my drill, a larger drill bit. We're going to lay them out together on that table. I'm going to drill a hole like this one here. It's got a hole drilled through about 2.5 inches down through, and that'll hold my tripod together at the top, and then I'll pry the legs apart and I will put a board on it for the stand to hold the whiteboard on the bottom. Now I'm using no big deal, I'm using a 3/4 inch bolt. I'm going to use 3/8 drill bit to go through here, because it's going to have to be able to spread apart. It needs a little bit of play in them. I'm just going to line the ends up and I'm going to drill right through them. Now, if you wonder why this drill sounded weird, that's a impact drill. All my tools are at a job site. I'm not able to use the ones I want to use. Put all these together. I'm going to tighten that down and cut that bolt off, because I don't need that long of a bolt. Tighten the nut down. This is a nut with a silicone washer inside it, so you don't have to worry. It's sort of like a lock washer. I'm not going to tighten it all the way down, because I'm going to have to spread the legs and put the board on it. So that's going to cause me to have a little play in that bolt until I get the board on it down there. You can see what we're going to do now is we're going to put this board right here. We've got the top put together. We've got the 3 legs over there laid down. Now we're going to create this board, and we are going to put it on here. I'm going to measure from the top down to the top of this board where the easel is going to, or where this thing's going to sit on this easel. And I'm going to mark how far down it is so I can go ahead and screw my braces right here that my board is going to sit on. I'm going to screw these both on from the top down to there, 58 inches. Now over here, I've got my easel laid out here. I'm going to measure down from the top, measure down 58 inches. Measure down from the top over here, 58 inches. I've cut a couple of little boards and put a little angle on them. And they're going to sit on here just like this so that when this spreads out, it'll hold it level, okay? I'm just going to put those at 58 inches from the top. I'm going to put a couple of screws in them. I got one for each side. That's going to hold my board that goes across here when it comes. I've cut these little boards. They're about 6 or 7 inches long. They're just going to be supports for my cross brace. So look here. As you can see, I've got these little supports right here underneath the thing that holds my easel on. This gives me an opportunity to screw this here, screw my board into the top of it, and that will help support this whole thing, okay? So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put these on my legs. So I've marked down 58 inches from the top, drawing me a line, and I'm just gonna drill me one right in, right there. There's that one. Okay, I'm gonna do this one here on this side the exact same way. I'm using driller screws so they don't split out. All right guys, so what I'm doing is I'm cutting the board out. I've made a notch here for my legs on one side, and I'm making a notch for the piece in the middle. I'm just using jigsaw, cutting this board out, drill a hole in it, cut that side out. And as you can see, I've got the space for in the middle. Took a 1x4. I'll spread it apart, and there is my shelf for my easel. Okay, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put a self-tapping screw right here and one over here, and then I'm gonna put a screw here and go all the way into this, and then we'll be done with this easel. Put a chain on it and we'll be done. All right, so what I did was I put a screw here holding my board down onto that brace, and I drilled back through it. Now I've got a screw holding that side in. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. When you do this, just make sure that you drill before you put your screw in. Get my 2 1/4 inch screw, put that in. Now I have my easel. I'm going to stand it up here, let you see it. As you can see, now it's definitely way too tall. Got my tripod done. It's a little bit tall, and I've notched my boards. As you can see, I've notched this one back 7 inches and 1 3/4 so that my leg could be inside the board. Here's the way it looks on the other side, 7 inches and 1 3/4. I also put a notch in it for this leg. When this leg swings forward, it'll store flat. It'll go into that notch there. My whiteboard will sit right on here. Show you how that looks. Now, as you can see, my whiteboard is sitting up here pretty high, but what I'm going to do is I am going to trim off the legs, because it can come down at least 5 or 6 inches. So what I'm going to do in order to trim the legs off, and I'm going to show you right here on this one, I'm going to take a 2x6. I'm going to lay it flat on the cement like this. This will give me my angle that I need to cut. As you can see, this leg is sticking up off the ground. I'm going to lay it on here, and that'll give me my angle that I'm going to cut my legs off. I'm going to do that on each one of these. Mark each one of my legs. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to cut those off, and I'm going to lower this easel down. As you can see, right now it's pretty high, and I'm going to lower it down about 5 inches and that way it's sitting at about 3 foot tall. That way it's easier to handle inside a building, especially a building with 8 foot ceilings. Now when my easel is laying flat on a board, I'm going to cut this leg off right here on this line. I'm going to cut this one off on this line, and that one over there off on that line. I'm going to cut those off. I'm going to lower it about 5.5 inches. I use the 2x6 to make my marks. And it ought to sit flatter on the ground at that time. Just do this with a jigsaw. I haven't got my skill saw here. Okay, cut that one off. Cut that one off. Okay, jigsaw makes short work out of it. So I lowered my easel down. Let's put it back on the ground. We're going to see how it sets. My feet actually set flatter on the ground. What I'm going to do now, take a little chain and I'm going to squeeze this in. Not all the way. Squeeze it a little bit so I can get a screw through there. I'm going to take one of my 1¼ inch screws. I'm going to attach my chain to the inside leg. You want to make sure you put a little rope or something on these things so that your back leg doesn't fall and the whole thing hit the ground. Okay, put a screw there. Go ahead and take the other end with my channel locks, squeeze it down. Sure my screw can get through there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mount it to this leg right here. All that's going to do is keep this thing from spreading too far. If I've got my whiteboard on there, I can't go very far. Alright, we're all done with our tripod. We're all done with our whiteboard. Got my safety chain on here, so now this thing can't go back too far. Let's see how it'll work with the whiteboard on it. This one's a little bit, it'll have to sit out in the feet and get adjusted a little bit. Alright, so there's my whiteboard on the tripod. Good to go for class tomorrow. You can build you a tripod with a whiteboard for a Bible class or for whatever you want to use it for, presentation, whatever. And there you go. There's my whiteboard with an easel. That's about a $600 to $700 whiteboard that I can put together for about $50 to $60.